If you have been paying attention, you know that I don't usually require a dinner jacket or tie for my parties. Exchanging one's work boots and blue jeans for Oxfords and wool trousers shows one's appreciation for the host's hard work and hospitality. But who says a gourmet meal always requires formal attire, or even long pants for that matter? That may be a rule in some fine restaurants in San Sebastian or Paris, but this is Southern California, and it's August, and we're in my castle. So this week, we're going to dine on truffles and escargot and duck breast and maple chantilly, and we will partake of these delicacies in our shorts and t-shirts, and yes, maybe even sandals. That's right, I do as I please. Stay thirsty, my. We're going to feast this week. I had some escargot a la Bourguignonne while on vacation last month, and the dish was so good I knew I had to make it when I got home. These tender, farm-grown morsels will be bathed in butter, wine, and garlic, which will sop up with crusty baguettes baked that very afternoon. For the first course, I'm serving shaved summer squash salad, accompanied by a nice Sauvignon Blanc. Our squash will be graced with crushed roasted almonds, baby arugula, and fresh grated pecorino cheese. I'm really looking forward to our main course, pan-roasted duck breast with truffled polenta and lingonberry sauce, served with a side of sautéed mixed greens and a glass of Pinot Noir. Duck breast may be my favorite meat, and this recipe sees it fanned out over squares of truffle oil-infused polenta, topped with a tart, drool-inducing lingonberry sauce. And Cognac-Chocolate Mousse with Maple Chantilly will cap our dinner. A dessert with cognac, maple syrup, whipped cream, and rich dark chocolate too? That's a good finish. It's Friday, the day before the dinner party, and we're going to start the advanced preparations with the Cognac-Chocolate Mousse. I've prepared the ingredients. I have a tablespoon of sugar, 2 tablespoons of cognac, 2 tablespoons of butter, 3 eggs separated room temperature, 7 ounces of chocolate, and 3/4 of a cup of whipping cream. And we're going to start by whipping the cream. While the cream is whipping, I'm going to melt the chocolate and the butter over a double boiler. Alright, the chocolate is melted. We're going to let this cool in the bowl for a little while. I'm now going to whisk the egg whites at medium speed until they're frothy, and then I'm going to add the sugar and increase it to high speed. The egg white is now frothy, so I'm going to add the tablespoon of sugar, turn it to high speed, and mix it until soft peaks form. Alright, soft peaks have formed, so we're going to take that off now. Now I'm going to whisk the cognac into the chocolate until it's barely incorporated. And then I'm going to do the same with the egg yolks, one yolk at a time. I'm going to fold the whipped cream and chocolate together. I was actually supposed to fold the whipped cream in first, and I started with the egg whites. So we're going to go ahead and fold all these together. A little bit out of order, but we'll see how it turns out. And then we're going to put this into dessert cups and put it in the refrigerator until tomorrow. And there's the mousse. Ooh, tasty. In preparation for the escargot, this morning before I started filming, I sterilized all of these shells by boiling them in hot water with some vinegar. And now we'll let those dry until tomorrow. I'm going to make the lingonberry sauce now for the duck breasts. And we're going to start out with 2 cups of dry red wine and 14 ounces of beef broth, 14 ounces of chicken broth, 2 sprigs of thyme, and a bay leaf. And what I'm going to do is reduce this down to 1 cup. I've also mixed together a teaspoon and a half of flour and a teaspoon and a half of butter. And I've measured out half a cup of lingonberry preserves. And once the broths and the wine are reduced to 1 cup, I'll be mixing these in to thicken it up and prepare it for tomorrow. The broth and wine are still reducing, so we're going to now turn to the polenta. And we're going to start by slicing the cremini mushrooms and the shiitake mushroom caps. We're going to be frying those up with garlic and then adding the broth and the polenta. Now I'm going to mince up 2 garlic cloves. I'm heating up 2 tablespoons of olive oil over medium heat. I'm going to start browning the garlic, and then I'm going to add the mushrooms to that. All right, the mushrooms look about ready. So we're going to add the 3 cups of chicken broth. Okay, the mushrooms are boiling now, so I'm going to turn this down to medium and add the polenta. We're going to cook this for about 10 minutes, stirring it frequently. All right, that's thickening up nicely. And it looks like, yeah, we're down to about 1 cup on the sauce. Let's go ahead and remove the thyme sprigs and the bay leaf. I'm going to now whisk the butter and flour mixture that I prepared earlier into the sauce. When that thickens up some, then I'll put in the lingonberry. All right, I'm going to add the lingonberry now to the sauce, and we're going to cook this for about 1 minute. The polenta is now thick, so I'm going to add a tablespoon of truffle sauce and some salt and pepper. Oh, that's good. That's really good. I've greased a baking pan, and now I'm going to pour the polenta into that. When this cools down a little bit, I'm going to cover it with plastic, making sure that the plastic touches the surface. As far as the sauce is concerned, let's give it a taste. Oh, that's going to be so good. I'm starting the last task of the advanced preparations, and that's the preparation of the pâté fermenté for the bread, the French bread, the baguettes. And we're going to start with a cup and an eighth of general flour and a cup and an eighth of bread flour. And into that we're going to mix 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt and half a teaspoon of yeast. I've got a little bit more than 3/4 of a cup of water, and we're going to mix. This is room temperature. All right, and then we've got kind of a rough, shaggy ball, and we're going to go ahead and knead it now. All right, the dough looks like it's about ready. And there you can see it. It's a little bit sticky, which is as it should be. So what I'm going to do now is put it in this bowl, and I'm going to let it sit at room temperature for about an hour. Then I'm going to take it out, knead it very lightly and very briefly to degas it, and put it in the refrigerator overnight. And that concludes the advanced preparations, and tomorrow we'll get going on what should be a pretty good dinner. Maple Chantilly.